Okay, guys, listen, here's the deal. I feel like absolute crap, but we have to talk about the game on Saturday and what's next for the Oklahoma Sooners because a lot of you guys have simply had questions about Jeff Lebby. I mean, we're not going to dance around the situation. And at this point, I think I'm jumping on board with you guys, and I really want to talk through it, and I want to hear what y'all's thoughts are. So, if I do seem all over the place, please bear with me, guys. I don't know what's wrong, but I don't feel well. But it's important that we talk about this and get this out there. So, before we dive into it, guys, I told y'all I was going to bring you guys a T-shirt, and I brought it to you guys. Where is the flag? We're looking at the picture where it clearly shows that Drake Stoops was being held, or whatever you want to say on this play. Should have been defensive pass interference, although the Big 12 reps, Greg Swain and other people will tell you it wasn't. No, show it, wear it proudly. We got the T-shirt. You'll find that link in the description below. All right, let's go ahead and let's dive into the game and let's talk about Lebby, because at this point in time, a lot of people have questioned Jeff Lebby's play calling. And although his play calling for the majority of the game on Saturday was not bad, he did at times get too cute. And at the end of the game, you heard Jay and I talk about it on Sunday, a video that came out, Sunday night. His clutch play calling, it's not there. And it hasn't been there all season outside of that final drive for Texas. And in all honesty, I don't think you fire Lebby at this point, but I do believe Jeff Lebby will be considered either for another offensive coordinator job or even for a G5 head coaching job. And it might be time to, if that happens, if another school comes knocking on your door and they're asking to interview Jeff Lebby, and maybe they even want to hire Jeff Lebby, it might be time to let him go. Let him spread his wings. Jay brought up a good point, and I don't know if we talked about it in the video on Sunday or not, or if it was a green room conversation. He talked about Josh Heupel. You guys remember the years right before we hired Lincoln Riley and the Josh Heupel offenses, and quite frankly, they just weren't good. And how Josh Heupel had to make stops at like Missouri, and then he went to be the head coach at UCF. And you really saw Josh Heupel find himself as he broadened his horizons, as he branched off from Oklahoma and got out from underneath Oklahoma's wings. And look at it. Josh Heupel now has Tennessee as one of the best offenses in the country, one of the most explosive offenses of the country. And he landed himself a 5-star quarterback in Nico Iamaleava in the 2023 cycle. And I'm not saying that can happen for Jeff Lebby. But the thing is, Jeff Lebby might be too comfortable at Oklahoma. Is that fair to say? If you guys don't think that's fair, I want to hear it down below. But and I've heard some of you guys say, well, maybe Jeff Lebby, conspiracy theory, Jeff Lebby is mad at Brent Venables and Joe Castiglione about the Art Briles situation, and he's calling a bad game just so he can get fired and get that buyout money. I don't think that's the case because, listen, Jeff Lebby, he's still an alumni of this school. I don't think he would do something to hurt his school, especially when they have a chance to go play for a playoffs and a national championship. Right. I don't think he's Lincoln Riley. And I say that because, let's be honest, Lincoln Riley did not coach his best games in that final season, especially leading up towards the end of the season. But Jeff Lebby, during the Oklahoma State game, like, he started off the game where I was fairly impressed. Like, we saw Gavin Sawchuk get the ball and get a 64-yard TD, which this was the best rushing attack we've seen from Oklahoma all season. And I know some people will point to the Texas game. Dylan Gabriel rushed for over 100 yards that game, and I don't want to consider the quarterback as a part of your run game, right? He shouldn't have to be. It's great that he can use his feet, but he shouldn't be a part of your run game to where it's crucial for him to be running for your run game to be successful. So I look at it and say running backs, right? What are they doing? Well, Gavin Sawchuk got a 64-yard for a touchdown. And then you saw the next drive out, Oklahoma was moving the ball. So Gavin Sawchuk ran the ball to the OU 5 for 3 yards. Dylan Gabriel, he missed a pass to Gavin Freeman, but he completed a pass to Jalil Farouk for 15 yards, got Oklahoma to the 20-yard line. Then obviously Oklahoma had the false start penalty that killed them there. And then you saw Dylan Gabriel complete a pass to Drake Stoops. you saw Dylan Gabriel get sacked, but then he came back and he took a deep shot, right? We saw Dylan Gabriel take deep shots, and he did it with Nick Anderson here and got 49 yards, where he pretty much made the defenders run into each other. And this is what we have been calling for Jeff Lebby to do since Andrell Anthony has left. And he did it multiple times in this game. Now, Nick Anderson, I believe, dropped a pass. I do question why Jaden Gibson wasn't out there more often, because he's just a size mismatch for a lot of people, and you feel like you would want to play that size mismatch. But on the whole, when it comes to the play calling, not necessarily the personnel decisions, but play calling, I look at it and go, you called a fairly good game. The only thing that I would have changed, and I'm not sure if this was in Oklahoma's control or not, but I believe it was towards the it was on that it was later in the fourth quarter where Dylan Gabriel missed Drake Stoops for the 3 yards. I was, or no, it was the fumble. I was almost wondering, like, why don't we kick the ball here? Instead, they decided to go for it on fourth down. At least give yourself a chance to score. I didn't quite understand that one, but that's to each his own. So I don't know if that's in Jeff Lebby's hands or not. But ultimately, at the end of the game, and I think this is the one that a lot of people are looking at and saying, Jeff Lebby, this should not have been called, right? Dylan Gabriel completes a pass to Drake Stoops on the outside. I think there's two to blame here. One, I think Drake Stoops has to be more aware of where he's at on the field. I don't think Drake Stoops was fully aware of where he was at. Second off, if you're Lebby, you need to run a slant route, or you need to have Jaden Gibson out there and you need to give it to your best players. Like, you need to use the size mismatch advantage and you need to get it to them. So here's the deal. We've talked about it. It's the inconsistency for Jeff Lebby that I think is going to cost him the OC spot at Oklahoma. He can't call consistent games. He'll have a good game like he did against Texas. Then he has 2 bad games in a row before he has a decent game. And I'm not even going to call this one a good game. I'm just going to call it a decent game. You had Arkansas State, which anybody should be able to move the ball in Arkansas State. SMU, you struggled. Then you had Tulsa. Okay, you had to move the ball there, but then Cincinnati. And so I just look at it and I go, what would Oklahoma's offense look like next year if you had Matt Wells or if you had Seth Luttrell at the helm? And Jay and I have talked about this at length. Who would be the next OC at the University of Oklahoma? 100% think it's going to be somebody internal. It only makes sense. Why would you disrupt the program in such a manner to bring in an outside offensive coordinator where I don't even feel like the choices when you go outside the program are that great? You got Matt Wells, who was at Texas Tech for a while, and you got Seth Luttrell. So you can pick one of them, or maybe even have them be co-play callers throughout maybe the spring and or co-offensive coordinators and play callers throughout the spring and maybe the first couple of games of the season next year, just to find out who, basically just like, hey, you're interviewing for this job. Like, we want to see who's got the best, interview for the job, put your best forward. And I think Oklahoma fans would be happy with that, because then you're going to get a competitive game. You're going to get a competitive offense. And it's not to say that this offense is bad, because, guys, you can see it right here in the team stats. Oklahoma put up 492 yards of total offense. They are the number 7 overall offense in the country. This offense is not bad. It just comes down to crucial play calling on the offensive side of the ball. Oklahoma's not there with other teams. And so I look at it. Oklahoma still has a chance to go 10-2 this season and go to a good bowl game. Now, the odds of them going to the Big 12 championship, listen, it's not in Oklahoma's grasps anymore. Now, they can get there, but it's not their destiny. Like, they don't control their destiny. You got to, I think, have Oklahoma State lose twice, and you got to have Kansas lose. So you mean you got to have Kansas State beat, well, no, you can have Kansas State beat Kansas and Texas lose one game, and that gets you in. And I don't think Texas is going to lose. And quite frankly, I think if you guys follow me on Twitter, sorry guys, getting a little drainage here. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys saw what I said about Texas. At this point, Texas has 3 games left on their schedule. At TCU, at Ames, which is going to be a night game in Ames. A little scared for Texas there. And then Texas Tech at home at 6:30. They got 3 straight night games. I want to see them go out there and completely crush each of those teams by 40 points. Because the Big 12, it's obvious they're after Oklahoma and Texas. Texas had a clear pass interference call that was missed in the Kansas State game as well. That probably, if the defender does not wrap that receiver up and pull him down, that guy probably takes down the field and scores. And so it's blatantly obvious. They tried to get him during the K-State game. They couldn't, but they got Oklahoma during the Oklahoma State game. And it really, I think, just comes down to execution. These players need to execute better. If they execute better throughout the game, I don't think we're sitting here talking about Jeff Lebby. And I don't think we're sitting here talking about, hey, Jeff Lebby needs to go after the season. I think we're sitting here and we're talking about, oh, Jeff Lebby found an offense that was able to beat Oklahoma State by 3 scores, because I think that's what it comes down to. If Oklahoma executes better, we're not talking about firing Lebby or letting Lebby walk after the season. But here we are. So, guys, I really want to hear what y'all's thoughts are. And again, sorry if my thoughts were all mixed up. I'm just I'm sitting here sweating. That's how bad it is. If you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Again, I'm going to post a link for the Where's the Flag t-shirt in the comments below. Listen, when you guys watch my videos or you guys buy those t-shirts, 1, it helps improve the podcast, get new equipment, or 2, it helps bring NIL money in the players' pockets, right? So we utilize a program to be able to pay players that's approved by the Oklahoma organization and the compliance department to be able to pay some of these players to get you guys interviews, which we'll do after the Big 12 championship and bowl season when they have some time off and things like that. Right now, they're just busy, so that's why we haven't done any in the season. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, go check out the shirt and link.